Okay, you're live.
Perfect. Maybe. There it is.
How goes it?
Very good. Still upright.
Bug.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I
Breaking
don't know, that's a new noise to me. Must have been an upgrade.
All right. I got 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call. Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Approval of the agenda in front of you. You do have the agenda. Are there any additions, subtractions, corrections that need to be made?
Move approval of the minutes or of the agenda.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Megan. Discussion. Hearing none. Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Citizens forum. At this time, we will take any citizen input for things other than those that are currently on the agenda. Are there any citizens wishing to speak? Go ahead.
Okay, so I had company from Omaha on Friday. A guy I went to high school with, just retired from the Omaha Douglas County Health Department, worked in building and codes. I took him around town. He said, "Man, this Main Street, I love it." He says, "I love the park. I like what they're doing at the school." But he says, "Do you have anybody that goes around and enforces some of these junky yards?" He says, "That's kind of detracts from the rest of the city." And I said, "I really don't know. I'm going to go to the city council meeting. I'll find out." And he said, "That one thing would make this city much, much better." And I don't know if somebody does that or.
We have, it's kind of rough because we switched it between the November election and getting new
Mhm.
council members on board. But we have divided the town up into different sections that each council member is responsible for to take pictures to start that process of cleaning it
Okay.
up. So
Yeah, because other than that, he thought it was a great little town and, nice place to settle. But he just, when he got off and got a couple blocks and
Yeah.
started seeing, he says, "Man, does anybody address this?" No, I really don't know.
yeah,
Joseph, how far can the city go besides writing a letter or doing a nuisance order or whatever?
I'm not entirely 100% sure. I would say that it has been the extent that we have gone since I've been mayor.
Okay.
Is we write the letter, it's not cleaned up, then we start the nuisance property with the lawyer. So
If I may interject, here's how he said they do it in Omaha. They actually the inspector goes and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, your yard needs a little cleaning up. Is there some reason why you can't? We have volunteer help? I'm gonna be back in 30 days. If I'm back in 30 days and it's not done, then I'll have to begin legal proceedings." And he says 99% of the time it's done.
for sure.
He said what they mainly deal with is too long of grass.
Yeah.
But
Is that's what I've heard is other towns will have a ordinance, your weeds can only be 11 inches high.
Right.
And if they're more than that, then we're knocking on your door or whatever, so.
Or
But
we'll mow it for you and then bill you.
yeah, that's what he said the city does. If they don't mow it, he says, "Well, we'll get somebody to mow it for you and then we'll bill you." And then if they don't pay, then they file a tax lien against them.
That's
So,
what we do.
so
Right.
I was just,
Did you- Go ahead.
I was just curious as if you had a committee or somebody that was responsible for that.
We don't have a committee, at this time anyway.
Would that be
That was
something you're looking
suggested
for
at the
volunteers
last
for, or
What was that, sir?
does that be something you'd look for volunteers for that would,
Absolutely, I mean, we could, absolutely, yeah.
well, if you get
Any
to
help
that,
possible.
if you get to that point, I'd be willing to
Okay.
be that hatchet man.
Perfect.
It's very nice of you.
We
Thank you.
talked about that at the last meeting, I think, and everybody was supposed to get pictures of problems by the next regular council meeting.
I don't think we specified a date on that. We can go back and look at the minutes, but
Well, yeah, we,
I know,
I think you're right. We were
Yeah.
going to get pictures
Yeah.
by the next council meeting and
Mhm.
then, it turned cold. So. April,
We
that
can't
was-
wait
that
any
was-
longer.
Should
I
we
mean,
just put a
summertime's,
deadline on it?
April
April
4th.
I mean, don't we have a spring cleanup
Well,
day?
the cleanup day,
Because I was always
prior to
working
that.
weekends, so, you know, we could start with the suggestion, start with the spring cleanup day and then go from there.
Absolutely. Yep, and I think that was another suggestion that we made is that we'd send letters out to those folks and let them know when spring cleanup day was gonna happen. That way we could possibly wrangle a few volunteers together to get some of the junk off people's property and throw away.
have you talked to like any of the kids at the high school or anybody that has a pickup that would be willing to do this?
When we
We're
talked
running out
about
of
that
time.
last, we run into legality issues
Yeah.
when they're running their own pickup. And so that's why we were saying that we would have to use city vehicles. But I have talked to a few people at the school to see what we can come up with. But
Yeah, we're running out of time.
the spring cleanup day, what day was that? Was it May?
It was
May
the
7th.
first Saturday, I
May 7th?
thought.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody knows anybody that would be willing to volunteer, to put the stuff that is on the parking into the trucks to haul them,
For sure. Yep.
we need to get on
Yep.
the stick. Make commitments.
Well, I would be interested in knowing if there were any particular instances that come to mind of properties that he thought were detracting.
Okay, there, 'cause I walk every day and I walk around town. I think their names are Young. They have all their cars parked in their yard, right on the street, you know, I'm like,
Yep.
7th and
And,
Metcalf.
yeah, and I noticed today, on the side, they had that gate open. Of course, when the gate's not open, you can't see it, but you talk about a fire trap in that backyard. Holy buckets, I couldn't believe all the junk back there.
Yeah, and that particular area has been on our list for quite some time as well.
The other
What
stuff
street
I
is
see
that?
is just very minor,
That's my-
you know, just, the other stuff I see is very minor. It's just probably laziness or, yeah, I'm gonna get to it
Yeah,
and never do.
I see that.
Then this
The other day.
down here, yeah, I know that one's pretty touchy, but that place is gonna go up in smoke one day.
Broad and Maxwell.
Yeah. But those are the two main ones that I notice, other than just minor stuff that I think people are just being lazy.
for sure, for sure. Yep. We'll get that working on and we'll make sure that everybody has pictures of their area in by, what did we say, April 4th?
April 4th.
Does that give everybody enough time? Some of you guys probably already have them done, Lauren, I know you're new.
Yeah,
Okay, so-
and, Steve updated the map for me, so
Perfect.
I think I have Metcalf and.
Well, you'll
You're central,
basically
yeah,
the central area.
Yeah, basically central.
north.
Yeah, what?
The,
I think I have.
the gentleman's name, so
Joe,
I can,
Joe
Joe
Polinsky.
Polinsky.
What's your address, Joe?
79 Main Street, the old bar.
Gable it.
One Sunday afternoon, this is about 10 years ago when that sign was still up on the building. I'm watching football and this old guy walks in and says, "Is the bar open?" I'm like, "Well, I got a beer in the fridge." I says, "This is no longer a bar." Where is that one? That's when the one in college is still, I set him up there, but he walked right in my front door.
I would encourage everyone on the council, if they're going out and, looking at the areas, to review what the ordinance says about, what is and is not a nuisance, what is and is not junk. Because there's,
Mhm.
you can have things laying around in the yard, kids' toys, and it may not be very attractive, but it's not a nuisance and it's not junk. It's just, living. So,
And I think we also talked at our last meeting about if there hasn't been any progress on cases of turning that in, and starting the nuisance process on that. I did see them start working on it today, so I don't know.
yeah, they were there.
Yeah, they were there.
About that, so we can discuss that at our next meeting. Anything else for citizen forum? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 5, discussion and action on agreement with Maxwell's Market in the Park. You can see the Parks and Open Spaces meeting with the changes that they suggested we make. Any discussion on this item?
Can I make a suggestion, council first?
Go ahead.
On number 1, it says the market may use the property for the entirety of each rented Sunday. Isn't there a certain area? Because it may use the property, which is the park.
You have to look at the map on the last page,
Yeah, I
and
know that,
the
but
map on the last page, you know,
is that the property referring to
park,
those numbers?
if you look at the first paragraph, Exhibit A is the park, and you look at Exhibit A,
Mhm.
and at the bottom of Exhibit A, it says the areas are number 5, 6,
Yeah,
8, and 9 that they can use exclusively. And area 2 is a shared area with the rodeo, if the
Mhm.
rodeo is having an event. So
Mhm.
the other areas that are not 5, 6, 8, and 9 are not the park.
okay, I was just, may use the property, I just wondered the wording on that. I wasn't saying anything about anything else, just
Yeah,
the
the
wording. on
property
it.
refers to the park in the first paragraph. So maybe we should say park instead of property,
Yeah,
the Capitol Park.
I'm just saying, may use the,
Designated areas in the park.
Well, the Capitol Park is defined in the paragraph above.
Right.
I have a question on, because I'm not for sure of the layout. What about these kids that go down and play frisbee golf? Are they in the way of the market? I didn't know where
No.
those ones went.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
They're on the outskirts of
Okay.
the park and then over across the street.
Okay.
So, no. Mm-mm.
I have a suggestion under number 1, that same paragraph we're talking. The second sentence currently says, or what the proposed language says, purpose of the rental agreement to allow the market to host up to 22 weekly Maxwell's Market and Park events each Sunday, and so on and so on. If we're looking at the time frame that goes from May 1st through October 31st and count the Sundays, there'll be at least 26 total, 27 this next year total, subtracting the 1 for
Mhm.
that's designated. I think maybe a cleaner way to say that, so we don't get in trouble, is this number 20 or is this number 21? We're looking at the time frame. Just let that time frame be the guideline between March 1st and October 1st. They'll end up paying $35, which is coming up later. But I would like to propose this for sentence 2. The purpose of the rental agreement shall be to allow market to host weekly events on each Sunday, excluding the Sunday following the first Friday in August. So I would suggest replacing
this thing that gets into 22 and other things, and just say Sundays. And yes, the next paragraph says $35 a pop. And I've got a proposal there too that becomes a little less cumbersome.
And that still covers the half that we owe at the front and then
The
the
balance at
tally at
the end.
so
Yeah.
she doesn't have too much paperwork to do as far as refunds.
Yeah, we don't
if I
have
pay
to
up front.
refund money then if there's less than that, because we're talking about weather concerns. If we have a hailstorm and 80-mile-an-hour winds, then obviously the market wouldn't meet, but if they've already paid for it, then there's gonna have to be a refund. So here's what I'm proposing under number 2, down below where it starts with rent. Market agrees to pay the city as rental and for said terms the following: $35 per market. Half the estimated total annual rent shall be paid in advance of the first event, with the balance due by November 15th of each calendar year, and with the interest as it says. Otherwise, you end up paying $770.
I don't understand the difference between what you've said and what this says.
The difference is,
What this says is that they pay half the total.
no, this says money. This says exact dollars. I'm saying half the projected total. The
Half
Deb,
the projected.
So what he's saying is if there's two Sundays that it's rained out, they shouldn't have to pay for that, and they would be credited for that on the end.
at the very end.
Yeah,
Well,
I-
you're saying
exactly what
delete
this
for a
says.
total of 880 annually. Delete that sentence,
Well, it's
that
not
part of
80.
It
it.
wouldn't be
We did
880.
880.
Well, I know, but that was in the blue, but if you delete the total amount, that would, I mean, it's pretty well established, it's 35 per week.
Whenever they meet.
So, yeah,
So at
whenever
the
they
beginning, we
meet.
estimate what it's gonna be. They pay half of it before it starts. Then at the very end, you look at what really happened. Lost one, put one in here, didn't have one there. Because again, there's 27 potential dates in that time span that we're dealing with. Is the dates the important thing, or is it the time span that's the important thing? I'm using the philosophy, it's the time span. And whatever they do in that time span, then they'll pay $35 per Sunday and square it up at the end. Pay whatever half of it is estimated up front, then square it up at the end.
I think the time span makes better sense because she might then have room for like makeup dates.
Mhm.
You know, if maybe you get
Weather's
rained out
nice,
and
we
it's
do
nice
go
and
Yeah.
folks still want to come back, then you could still.
I'm okay with taking out
The total
the
of
host up
770.
to 22. And then also down at the bottom.
So you just strike up to 22 and leave the word host in,
Correct.
and then do what?
Strike for a total of 770 annually, correct?
So whatever it calculates is what it'll be.
And then half the total annual rent shall be paid in advance. That part still sticks because we can square up at the end. Is that what you need done?
Are you gonna change the market may use the designated property for the entire week? Just add
I don't-
designated
I don't
I don't think
property.
it's needed.
I don't think that's needed.
So
The exhibit,
what is your intent on half? You're leaving the words half of it up front.
Okay.
So what is half
Half
of the
of-
total amount?
Well, half of whatever they're planning. If it's 27 this year, it's 26 next year.
it'd be based on projections of how many
So
markets
if
they plan on doing.
they project that they're going to have 22, then they would pay 25 times 11, or 35 times 11.
Half of it, yeah.
Yeah.
If they
That
say
was-
that they're going to have 27, then
Yeah.
half of
15,
that.
14, yeah.
And then when it's all said and done, rather than them pay and Deb have to say, oh, nope, you paid one too many, because that's language there said we had to pay.
If I pay
You
more
should
than
You
20.
pay
insert-
more, then you square it up at the end, and then Deb doesn't have to write a refund check.
We should insert the word projected under half the total,
Yes.
would be half the projected total.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
In that first paragraph, it says like it doesn't really give the time period. I'm just thinking they have, Sundays, don't they have softball games down there? And will
But
it
the
be,
softball field's not one of the soft
Softball
areas.
field.
right, but can they pull but it says other businesses on that day, period. because sometimes they've had, food vendor come in, could they still pull a food vendor in? That wouldn't matter then. I know last year they had like Sheely, or either it was last year or the year before, Sheely was coming down and after the park,
When the
he'd come
market
down
was
and,
done,
yeah. I'm just saying, so it doesn't really give the hours which they'll be there. So after that is okay, can another business come in there? Because if you read this, you really would think so.
But I'm referred to as the park, which is the areas listed in the exhibit. The softball field has nothing to do with that exhibit, is that right?
Right,
So that means a food truck can go to the softball field, no problem.
or any
Right.
other part of the
And
park
they
that,
can
that.
pull in then, but see, they usually would pull in kind of down there. And I didn't know if you wanted to wait till after, like they're gone, to pull in down there, or,
I
how
think that makes it complicated. And they could pull up, Sheely pulled up.
Did you see a copy of the map?
It's on the back page right there. Where's she at it?
Yeah, there's plenty of
They can
space
pull
for
up
the
on the
food
north.
truck not get in there.
Yeah.
I think it
Market.
would be on the outfield even if they did.
They could pull up on the north side of the number 7 now.
Mhm.
Parking. Pull up in number 2.
Find all kinds of places for sure.
Exactly.
And actually, there are a couple food trucks that are interested in, so I get softball games, so I think that's great.
Mhm.
And Sheely usually
But what
pulled
I'm
up.
saying is, it says the park shall not be used on these Sundays for any business or commercial purpose
And
other
remem-
than the Maxwell's Market and the parking.
And
lots.
remember, park
So,
is those areas which are designated on the map.
right, okay.
Not,
Defined just on.
not the entire park, but just those designated areas.
So if there are a couple food trucks at the market that want to pull up for the slow pitch softball games, I could tell them to move to the outfield up against the fence. That's not my permitted area. That's where they should go.
Or even along the third base line.
Yeah, along the
Right.
base, yeah.
As long as it's not in the permitted area
Right.
of my exhibit.
I'm just saying, you get all those cars down there, it just might be kind of hard, for,
Well,
I'm
they
just
can
thinking,
come
I don't
in-
know.
They can come in this way, back behind there's plenty of other ways to get in there behind Gollies. They can come down Army Post Road.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, there would be no interference with the
They can
farmer's
be there,
market.
yeah.
If they want to sell bad enough, they'll figure out how to get in
You betcha.
there.
And maybe they don't even want to do it. I'm just saying that, I just
Yeah,
know that
keep
I've
that
seen
option open.
Sheely's down there before.
Any other,
One more thought on that last sentence of that section,
Which
didn't-
section?
the one we're on to, the rent.
Okay.
It currently says city will refund the park rent, and that's what we're trying to get away from having to do. So let me propose this then, before they settle up. The city will not charge the park if the park, the definition of park, is not available due to flooding or inclement weather. And then they would settle up knowing that, no, we didn't have it because of the storm. Yes, he had one the next Sunday. It's just a tally of the count. So
So I could, before November 15th, when my second payment is due,
then
I'm
you
gonna
sit down
come to
and talk,
Deb.
come down and sit
We
with
didn't
Deb
have
and
a
say,
market
agree on the
this
number.
day, split it out, or this day it hailed.
Yeah.
And then I could,
could you just say that the remainder amount is due on November 15th, or is that completely taken out of the clause of flooding?
I still think it's worth noting that if the weather's an issue, then it isn't gonna be charged.
The city will not.
City will not charge if the park is not available due to flooding or inclement weather.
I would leave the word rent in there. The
Not
city
charge
will
rent,
not charge
okay.
rent
Fine,
if the park is not available.
due to flooding or inclement weather.
And reserves the right to refund portions of the rent for canceled events due to inclement weather.
Okay, so it was the thoughts I had.
I have another one, of course. It says number 7, parking first come, first served basis and cannot be reserved. What about handicap parking? That's a personal interest to me because I have limited distance that I can walk.
I have 2 handicap parking spots that I reserve down by the tree at the very first part of the path. I have cones with handicap signs
Okay,
that are right there.
That was a concern of mine
Yep.
personally. And what about the porta potties or restroom for handicap? Are those, because I know I have seen some porta potties that were available for handicap.
So we ran into that with events at Adventure. Now, I know you're not gonna like this response, but that park is grandfathered out of that rule. So, I mean, if you wanna have a handicap bathroom, based on,
Larger.
Just a larger.
yeah, a larger one to rent, I always got them from Bob's Porta Potty, and they were like maybe $10 more than the regular one. But I studied all these laws when I was out there about handicap accessible. And if you read down stuff, and I know it's not,
there's, this was just a.
yeah,
But the thing is, like, if I wanna take my mom there, I can't take her there knowing she's gonna she can't walk all the way, you know, so it's just kinda not
yeah,
fair
no,
to
I
other
understand it.
people.
But it's up to the individual proprietor of the business, you know, what they want to do. Does she deem enough to come in there to make it worthwhile, or?
And I think you have to also figure too, you're not gonna wanna have porta potties just sitting down there throughout the whole market season because A, that park floods, and B, you're not gonna have them pick them up every week, just have them drop back off on Sundays, so.
That's one of the things I've been trying to work out with the Kingstone. And the city, of course, is do I want to keep them down there? Yes. Do I want to pay the fees to have them picked up each week? No. Am I worried about vandalism? Yes. Am I worried about a lot of things? Yeah, unfortunately. So I need to wrap my head around porta potties. I still have a couple more quotes coming in. But
So
conversation for
Bob's
today.
Porta Potty, which I did a lot of business with, you could have, and I don't know what your budget is, but what they charged me at the campground, I had 4 porta potties out there the whole season. Each porta potty was $25 a month. And
How many
they
years ago was this?
just last year, I just retired in August.
Yeah.
This
So-
is Bob's.
Bob's Porta Potty, and I mean, and if you would want me to get a quote, because I'm in good with these guys, they did
Yeah,
all
Bob's.
our activities. Then they also, that fee includes them coming twice a month to clean, service them, and then if in between it would need a cleaning, they will come for like $5.
Is this out of Des Moines?
Yeah.
How do you know how many to get per person?
So for how many people do you think that you get on an average Sunday?
I wish.
The register said 2,000 yesterday.
I'm sorry.
2,000. It said yesterday in the register, in the Des Moines Register. That's what I
Yeah.
read.
I'd say, don't believe everything you read in the register.
That was from the mayor quoted.
Oh,
Well, they got my quote wrong, because I said we've had
It
upwards
said
of
2,000 shoppers
Normally the rule of thumb
every
that
week.
Bob's told me was
every week.
1 porta potty for every 150 people.
So yeah, I've been quoted at 2 porta potties per week, and it's a little higher than what I want to pay, but it's something I need to do. So I will. I think I need at least 2.
If you gave me the info, let me contact them because I could probably get
I
you better
would.
deal.
Yeah, if you would, I would.
Yeah, just
Absolutely
shoot me
think
the info and the dates, and
Yeah.
I'll call
Don't leave here. I'll get your email and we can.
them. Okay.
Yeah, that would help. Thank you.
Joe, is that Bob's Turgers?
What?
Is that Bob's Turgers?
No.
Okay. Well, there is one for porta potty.
John's John's. is whatever.
Any other discussion
yeah, they're out of business.
on item number 5?
I need to know exactly what we're doing. My notes say we are striking the words up to 22 in number 1.
Yep.
We're striking the word property and replacing it with park. In the second sentence, from the end. Is that correct?
I thought we weren't gonna do that because, I mean, it is described, it describes in
I think
the
it
first
describes
one.
it adequately, but it doesn't
Absolutely.
hurt any to, change it from property to park.
Is it this word right here?
Yes.
Yeah. The market may use the park for its entirety. If it is clarification, then that's great. There's a lot of other comments that were made that I think were totally superfluous and don't need to be made. But
Well, we could be even more descriptive and we could just put
I'm
exhibit
not sure if
A.
I'm lost.
well,
Because now people say, oh,
by
park,
using
is that the whole
by
park?
using the capital park, then it is of the reserved defined word again. And so it would be capital letters park. Market agrees, and then number 2, market agrees to pay the city as follows: $35 per market, period. Half the projected total annual rent. So you insert the word projected.
Mhm.
2, 3 lines down from that, the city will not charge rent. Strike the word refund.
Mhm.
And
That's it.
that's it.
Mhm.
And then there was discussion about porta potties. This agreement does not require anything about porta potties. That's something that was strictly a market, seen as a market responsibility. Does the city want to do anything about requiring porta potties?
I think it's quite a
I
distance
don't
for
think-
anybody.
I don't think we should. As he said,
They're looking into it already.
Leave it up to the market
leave
this year.
it up to the market if they want to.
Okay. At the Parks and Open Space meeting, Jody read some statistics about how often the park was rented over the last few years. And my notes indicated that the maximum number of times that the shelter was rented was 9 in any one year. Right?
Mhm.
Well,
So let's go one step further. Was that rented on a Sunday or a Saturday?
well,
Because if it was rented on a Saturday, then it had.
you can go one step more after I get done.
Okay.
I suggest that we drop it from $35 to $25 per market, because you take 25 times 9, and that's $225, which is what we would have gotten in the past. And this indicates we will have more than that, may have up to 22, which is $500, which is still much more. So I don't think we need to be charging the 35. I think we can get by with less, and I would move that it be changed to 25.
But Steve, the 35
It has
is
to
what
be seconded
anybody
before it
else,
can be discussed.
I'll second that.
Okay, now it can be discussed.
Second by Ken, discussion.
35 is what anybody else would pay. So don't you think that, I mean, this isn't against you, Lauren, this is just saying that anybody else would pay 35, so what's the difference?
a guaranteed income stream.
I think what he's saying is that
I
him
know
or
what
his
you're
wife
saying.
did a statistical thing, and on the average, it's 9 times a year.
But you can't project what the next year will be, or the next year, or the
Well,
next year.
when
You
we-
can when you take historical averages.
Yeah,
you
when,
can do-
when we did stuff at my business, we took the averages over the last 3 years, so then we dropped the third year when we went to the next year, so we're always current, and
You're
we
right.
never got in a jam that way. I mean, that's normally how a business does projections.
Plus, I think the city gets a lot out of it too, with it being a marketing thing that makes people want to come to Maxwell. I think it's a community betterment. It's just like Old Settlers. Old Settlers is community betterment, which is why we don't charge them anything to rent the park out.
But-
So
How does it better the city?
It brings people
people.
here that don't normally even know
Yeah.
where we are.
Yeah.
It brings people into our town that see our town, and
Might
We
see
better
a
when
house
it,
for sale,
right,
might see-
when it's cleaned up and looking
Yeah,
nice,
we
they
need
might
to
be
get it
like, this
cleaned
is
up before
adorable
We
little place
take
to
that
live.
into consideration.
So close to Ames and Des Moines and Altoona and Newton, and I mean, we are centrally located.
What if another business wanted to come in and like say want every Saturday, will they get the same treatment then? Like say it was an art in the park or something, you know?
they
a
would. I
little
mean,
bit
we're
different,
Yeah,
would they
I
get
would
the
be all
same
for that.
exact?
that's
Okay,
what we're doing.
And
here.
then now
I'm
that this
just,
precedent
you
has
know-
been set, I will make sure
Yeah.
that
okay, I was just
Yeah.
curious.
I think that's
But
part of
then,
this.
is that gonna be taken away from the people that wanna use it, you know, if you have, you know, I don't know, but,
There's a ton of room down there.
okay.
I don't know.
Well,
Hey, Deb.
and when they
Yeah.
did their historical when we had the Parks and Open Spaces meeting last Tuesday, Jody didn't just do the last 3 years. She did like the last 5 years. And our park is just not getting utilized right now. We need to do something to bring people into town, and the people that are here in town, we need to get them
Get a habit developed.
Down to the
well
park.
and have, I mean, wanting to get out and do things here
I know
and not
Trail
just go
City-
out of
I
town
mean, we have,
because
how many parks now?
ugh,
There's 2 that hardly get used. I mean, they're in soccer
I
games. The
see
little kids go
zero
over there.
people when I walk in the morning anywhere.
Right.
On the trail.
And I'll tell you about
Zero.
drawing people. So a couple weeks ago, my financial guy come to see me, and his car wouldn't start. He had a dead battery, and I said, "We got a hardware store right down the street." He's like, "You're kidding me."
Right. Yeah.
Went over there. Trevor didn't have it, but Arts Auto Parts brought it by 12:30. I mean, and
Yeah.
so you know, I
Yeah,
know
we
that.
need businesses. We need more things going on in town.
Vitality.
Hey, Deb, it's 25 for the shelter, right? And anybody can respond to this. I just want to make sure that
35.
It's 35 for the
35.
church stand.
for the church stand. Well, I absolutely use that. I have no issue with the 35. If that's what somebody would come in here and get charged to use the shelter on a Saturday, then I have absolutely no issue paying the 35. I want to be charged what everybody else would pay on any other given weekend. I don't want that to be discussed later on. I don't want that to be held over the market's head.
Or drop it
I
to 25 then, maybe, for everyone. For them and for the whole public.
We could, I think we have to have a public hearing for that,
Yeah.
because if we start the ordinance.
Which is doable.
I mean, I'm just saying make it fair for everyone, you know, then put it down to 25 for the public too.
Regardless, I just want it to be fair so that no one's
I think that's a
talking.
good idea.
and-
Well, what we're talking about is the shelter being rented at the most over the last 5 years, 9 times, and the city getting $315 in revenue from 9 rentals at $35 apiece. This contract is going to guarantee city income of $550 at $25 apiece for 22 times. So we're almost, not quite, doubling our income. And I'm not uncomfortable offering a discount for guaranteed income, and which is why I made the recommendation. And if there's no further discussion, I would call the question.
Then,
But you have to ask if there's any other questions.
any other Questions or discussion?
Hang on here, let me take one more look.
That's just the motion on
No.
25. Is that
That's
right?
just on the
Yeah,
price, that's,
we're just
you guys just
making a-
on the price.
Yep.
So just make it,
Then we'll start with Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
And
So
now
that is set.
move all the other amendments that have been noted.
I'll second.
Moved by Steve, second by Doug. Discussion.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Paragraph number 1, I believe we need to say excluding the Sunday following the first Friday in August,
Period.
period.
Yes.
She wants to take out which is
Reserved
reserved for Old Settlers Picnic.
And why do you wish to do that?
We were threatened with a lawsuit
What?
because it said Old Settlers Picnic in this agreement, so better off to
I think it's just better off we take the word
exit out,
Threatened with the lawsuit.
so.
The city was
The city,
threatened, not the
yes.
market.
Well,
I don't understand that.
I would certainly invite a lawsuit because the city ordinance specifically says that Old Settlers will use the shelter without rent during the Old Settlers Picnic. So we have in the ordinance an exclusion,
Okay.
and this contract is just echoing what's in the ordinance. And if they want to sue the city, that's really a question for our attorney. And so I see no reason to strike it, but if the council
So I got
wishes to strike it,
A
then
question. The ordinance says Old Settlers can use the shelter.
there will be no charge during Old Settlers Picnic for the use of the shelter. For Old
Number
Settlers.
9.
Yeah.
Okay, so then should they come up with another agreement to use 5, 6, 7, whatever numbers you got here?
5, 6,
4,
7,
5, 6, 8, 11, 12?
What, Old Settlers?
Yeah,
Why?
if it says shelter, it's number 9. And one time you came up
All
with
the
15.
ordinance says is there is no charge for the use of the shelter during Old Settlers Picnic.
Okay, and we have specific map here, so number 9 is the shelter.
Yeah,
Okay, so then I would expect the Old Settlers to come in here with a contract to be charged for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5.
I would love to see you have Old Settlers come in and do that, and to have that discussion, because I would certainly oppose it. Old Settlers is a tradition that has gone back over 120 years, and to come in and now and say that, gee, they've got to come in and ask for the use of the park, I think it would be counterproductive.
I'm just, she mentioned art in the park. Would we do everybody the same?
If they brought a contract, if they presented us with a
But being a
contract.
business, because it would be my own personal business. I mean, if I wanted to bring a business like that in, I'd expect to pay that.
But Old Settlers
It wouldn't be a
isn't
nonprofit
business,
group or
is it?
anything. It's your actual business. You make money off it, right?
Pardon?
You make money off it.
Who makes money off it?
The market,
Makes money off of
off the LLC business. I mean, I would think any business that would come in is gonna make something off. Like if you,
yeah,
I know Charles City does
don't know.
art in the park. I mean, but I think that's more of a nonprofit too, because they have a whole arts council right there. But I mean, it's a business, right? An LLC.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it's two completely different entities we're talking about right here anyways. That doesn't make sense. I mean, I see what you're saying about Old Settlers. It's kind of like, it's been going on forever. We're not gonna change it. I mean, it's gonna stay the way it is. That, you can't compare Old Settlers to the farmer's market as far as the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
That's why you just drew up this contract for, I take it, for farmer's market to protect you. And Old Settlers is protected by the city ordinance, so I don't see.
Any other discussion? Yes.
So are we stopping after the description of the date that Old Settlers gets?
Does that
And not
always,
saying, without saying
it's
the
always
reason?
the first full weekend of August, is that correct?
first try, yeah,
Mhm.
Sunday,
Then I would like the words Old Settlers Picnic taken out.
which doesn't add anything to. So which is reserved for Old Settlers. To me, I read this and I say, Old Settlers is not a party to this contract. The date is reserved for something else, and that's all we need to know in the contract.
So your motion is to strike the words, which is reserved for Old Settlers Picnic.
I would make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none. Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes?
Ken,
Yeah.
Steve.
No,
Okay, so we now have, I think there was a motion in a second to approve the contract with the changes.
correct.
But is there any other discussion on that? If none, we'll go to roll call. Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes?
Ken,
Yeah.
Steve,
Yes,
Deb has a question.
Megan. Yeah, sorry.
I
Yeah.
don't think Lauren should actually vote on any of this.
Okay.
It's a
There's no
conflict,
conflict.
it's a conflict of interest
No, it's not.
in what way?
because she's in charge of the LLC.
But.
I don't benefit it from it financially.
I'll second it. I'll second her second.
Well,
I mean, it's up to you guys. I'm just,
I think we talked about that once.
I think
Where
it is
we
important for me to
Said
vote.
that, right.
Yeah, I think it is.
I agree with Lauren's statement that she should be voting. She has declared that she is not benefiting financially from marketing the park.
that's fine, just go ahead.
So I do not see a conflict.
So Megan.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Ken,
Yeah.
Steve,
Yes,
Lauren.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, who motioned and who didn't? You guys have lost me on everything.
Sorry,
Steve,
Deb.
I think you
No.
I made the
made
motion,
motion,
Oh, no, that old one. Okay, yes.
the one to do everything as amended.
Okay.
right?
And who seconded?
Ken did, didn't you?
No, you did.
You
Okay,
did.
I'll-
You did,
I'll take
Doug.
it.
Okay,
Moving on. Item number 6, public hearing, discussion action resolution 2022-05. Approve the adoption of the budget and certification of city taxes for fiscal year 22-23. Do I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
Motion.
Motion by Megan to open public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second to Lauren. Doug,
Yes?
Ken,
Yeah.
Steve,
Yes,
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
The public hearing discussion for the resolution 2022-05, the adoption of the budget and certification of city taxes for fiscal year 22 is now open. Is there any public comment?
Yeah, one. Does the taxes maybe have anything to do with repairing the road going out of town?
On Baldwin?
Yeah.
That is an ongoing project. We do have, we're getting final numbers and everything from Snyder, so.
and getting, looking for grants.
Yep.
And our hope is to be able to have this all completed, not by this summer, but by next summer.
By summer of 23.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's our dream.
but, you know, we're looking at,
I mean, that's
community development block grants, we're looking at, grants from, the DOT and also from the, federal government so,
when that's done, I mean, is that a complete strip and have to redo drains and?
Yep.
The curbing and, so yeah, it's a lot of cash.
Even utility, Wi-Fi,
Maybe even going
utility
in
and all
and
that.
doing the water lines
Do it,
underneath.
buses have to do it right.
so we don't have to dig it up again.
Right, okay. That's all I had.
It needs it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's-
We agree.
Run for me, Lisa.
I zigzag, thanks. I zigzag when I'm going that
I
way.
will.
Yeah.
And you know what's making it worse is now, just going straight up Main Street, everybody's doing that, so now it's starting to
Yeah.
show wear and tear when you get up there by where Tom Lee lives.
Just talk to the high school kids that drive out of town. Evidently, if you go faster, you don't feel the bumps. So
Unless you're teaching your son how to drive, and then you feel every single one because he doesn't know how to straddle them. Yeah. Oh my gosh! I thought he was
Go back and
gonna
hit it again.
rip out the bottom of my car.
any other public discussion on resolution 2205?
Yes. Is there a reason you always go for the maximum? Because one of the reasons we moved to Maxwell was because the tax base was less than in the Golden Circle.
Golden Circle being,
Huxley, Ames, Nevada, Cambridge.
I think part of it is we have to fix a road, right?
Mhm.
And that costs money. B, we just had to build a brand new sewer lagoon project, which was $3.5 million that we're gonna have.
And that
So
was because of the school thing though, right?
what? The
Oh,
sewer?
you're talking
No,
about,
that
you're
was
talking
DNR
about the,
required.
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's all these things that need to be done that we don't necessarily have the cash on hand that we have to levy for. So that's why we always,
Well, you're keeping other people from moving in because of your tax base. That's just,
I agree. I think we're also,
don't take that, Ken.
I think we're also keeping people from moving in because we don't have any housing for people to move in.
Well, but you have to have a reason for people to move to an area. The reason people moved in for Rock Creek is because there was just an area to build and the tax base was lower.
And I think we've seen also,
You
we
don't-
put in a 5-year, 100% tax abatement. That's only been used a handful of times. So we had something where we were trying to get more people to move in and we only had a handful of people.
And in the defense of the city, I would still say that the parts of Des Moines, those tax bases are a lot higher in the
Well,
suburbs.
you're
Well,
talking
even just
people with
Huxley.
who-
I
more,
got lost in this, discussion. What was
That our taxes are too high, so to deter people from moving to.
and which
No.
taxes are too high?
no, the property
Specifically.
taxes is what I'm saying. You guys have, since I've been coming to the meetings, you always go for the highest rate. that you
Which
can
property
raise it
tax
to.
do you feel is too high?
Well, I'm just saying the property taxes, you guys have always gone for the highest
But
rate.
there are many
multiple.
different pieces to the property tax. You have the, regular general levy, which is $8.10 a thousand. The city has been at $8.10 a thousand, just like 99% of the other cities in the state of Iowa, for over the 20 years that I have been involved with the city.
Okay,
Because $8.10 is not enough based upon our tax, our assessments to bring in money to support the city. The other taxes that we have are the liability and property insurance. We only tax what we need in order to pay for the liability insurance. No more, no less. We're not taxing at a maximum there. You also have the ag land tax, which is all part of that $8.10. If you charge $8.10 1,000 on residential, then you get a related amount for ag land. You have the emergency fund. We Deb, are we at the maximum on the emergency fund?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency fund brings in $8,000 a year. And what that does is it sets money aside so that the next time we get a big windstorm and all the trees are blown down and we've got to get everything hauled away, that we would have $120,000 necessary to clean up the town. We've had 2 examples of a windstorm in the last 15 years, and that's how much it costs to clean up the town. We could put $8,000 aside every year. Yes, we're charging the maximum. Are you suggesting we get less than $8,000 a year?
I
Yes or no,
appreciate
it's
your
fine.
explanation though,
Okay,
because that's something that the average everyday citizen does not know.
we can also,
As to why, and then, I mean, with the county taxes on land, just,
Which we don't have a say in that.
no, you don't have a say in it, but the two combined has made it difficult for people on a fixed income.
absolutely.
Mhm. Well, I
And
agree.
being on a fixed income myself, I certainly understand that. The only other tax that we get to collect on is the FICA and IPERS. And
Oh, well,
again,
yeah.
you only tax exactly what you need. And we are taxing less than what we pay out on FICA and IPERS because some of that FICA and
But
IPERS
that's an income
is
tax.
paid for. Oh, this is a property tax. It's
Like,
a-
no, federal interest.
We are
We
collecting
collect it from property tax.
property tax money to pay employees FICA and IPERS.
Why?
Because that's how.
Because we have
The
to
city has to
pay
match
Because
it.
it's a
We
city
have to
business, it's a
pay
business,
Yeah.
just like any other
FICA
business.
and IPERS for employee benefits.
Your business, just like
But
any other
they-
business.
That
Businesses,
is deducted from their paycheck though.
No.
isn't it?
No,
Like
No.
you don't
But the
understand.
city
a
matches
match.
it.
Portion
There's a
of it
match.
is.
City does identically
City
the
has
same
to-
amount.
Oh,
match.
okay, FICA match.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And part of the FICA and IPERS is paid by the townships because we have a fire department.
Yeah, it's
And part of
for
it,
every city employee.
yeah,
It's you,
we
that you,
spread,
it's
we
the
spread
match,
that.
it's not the whole thing.
It's
the
not
match.
all spread to the general fund. We
Okay.
spread it out. So, in my opinion, having worked on this for 20 years, we are doing a reasonable job in making sure that our taxes are not excessive. Could we do better? Probably, and that's why we do budgets from November,
Spend less on fluff and
November
more
through
on
March,
necessities.
where everyone has the opportunity to come in and say, oh no, don't spend so much money on the library, don't spend so much money on the parks. Whatever trips or trigger, we hold meetings all about that.
So I don't know about Hudson and Slater, but I do know having to deal with taxes in Altoona.
Oh, yeah.
A person would move to Maxwell before they moved to Altoona. Now, I'll tell you this, before the Adventureland was sold, the hotel made enough money to pay the taxes on the park. We were the 3rd highest. Prairie Meadows, us, and Bass Pro Shop. Our taxes on the park were $4.2 million a year.
But the whole thing is, you're talking Altoona that has more services available to the public. The same Huxley does too. Des Moines definitely does.
You
as
know,
far as-
I moved here from Altoona, and I'll give up some of the services for the quiet.
Well, that's why we
You
moved
know,
up here,
I
but
mean,
still.
I see what you're saying, but you
Mhm.
gotta give and take. You can't always have what you want, and you know what? I want a high tax base because I want that damn street fixed.
Needs it.
That's discussion closed for me. I don't care about the
I
high
like
tax
my
A
rate.
lot of
street
people
fixed,
involved
too.
want that street fixed.
Yeah, as long as stuff's getting improved, I don't really care. You gotta pay the piper.
We're hoping to get at least a quarter of $1 million paid for out of grant money. And so we're working hard to get that done.
Any other public discussion on item 6A 2205?
I move we close the public hearing.
Second,
Moved by Steve to close public hearing, second by Ken, discussion. Hearing none. Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
yeah,
Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan.
Yes,
Move approval of resolution 2205.
Moved approval by Steve,
second,
second by Megan, discussion. Hearing none. Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
yeah,
Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan.
yes,
Item 6B, discussion action on resolution 2206, resolution authorizing transfer from local option sales tax fund to general fund for community betterment. Is there a motion to open the public hearing for item 6B?
make a motion.
Motion by Ken to open the public hearing,
Second.
second by Lauren, discussion. Hearing none. Ken,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
yes,
Doug.
Yes.
Public hearing 6B, discussion action on resolution 2206, resolution authorizing transfer from local option sales tax fund to general fund for community betterment is now open. Is there any public input for item 6B?
If you would just maybe educate me a little bit, the money that you're transferring,
I was just getting ready to do that.
beautiful, because I had no clue.
Just give Steve 1 minute.
Yeah.
He'll get it for you.
The amount of money that we can raise in taxes and fees is $86,857 short of what we need to have a balanced budget.
Okay,
We have, from the 1 cent sales tax, money that goes into the local option sales tax fund. That money can be used for community betterment. When that was approved years ago, it wasn't approved to reduce property taxes. It wasn't approved to do certain projects. It was given, the voters said, use it for community betterment. And so that's left up to the council to decide what is community betterment.
Okay.
We're $86,857 short because we cannot raise enough money from taxes to fund the entire government. So what we're proposing is saying that the police protection and cemetery mowing parts of the budget are community betterment.
Okay.
And as such, they would be eligible for funding from local option sales tax. Now, the nice thing about those two items is for local option sales tax, you cannot transfer until the money is spent. So if we don't spend as much money on cemetery mowing as what we guess now, then, and that guess goes from July 1 of this year to June 30th of next year. So, who knows what the weather's going to be.
right.
But if it doesn't mow, if we don't have that much mowing as what we budgeted, then we don't need to transfer.
Right.
And so there'll be more money left in local option sales tax. Same thing is true on the sheriff, although the sheriff's contract is a fixed amount every month for the next year. So I don't think there'll be any savings there. But this allows us to balance the budget and still do things like, park maintenance and other things.
No, makes sense now.
Clean up.
Is there any other public comment for item 6B? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Steve to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Megan. Discussion. Hearing none. Ken?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Item 6B, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2022-06?
So moved.
Moved by Steve.
Second.
Ooh,
Ooh.
Sorry.
I'll give it a birthday boy. Second by Doug.
Birthday bird.
Discussion.
Tweet, tweet.
What this resolution does is it authorizes the city clerk to make the payments after we've paid the bill and out of the general fund, and then transfer the money from local option sales back to the general fund to backfill once we have an expenditure. So it authorizes the use of local option sales tax money to backfill the general fund, which balances the budget. And so I'd certainly encourage all council people to support it.
Perfect. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug, Ken.
Yeah.
Item 6B passes. Next item,
Motion
number.
to adjourn. Dang it.
Motion by Megan to adjourn.
Don't anybody vote no. Then we'll write it down that way.
Okay. Okay.
Second. Does anybody say I second it?
Second by Lauren.
That's funny, Megan.
Serious?
Hearing none.
Yeah.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug, Ken,
Yep.
Steve.
Yes.
Shut her off.
I want to know, did Brooksy make this? I want the recipe.
No, Doug did.